How's it going, Warlords? Dark Britain is back on the stage, and we are back doing our off-the-scene interview. As those who may have caught our last few episodes, this is just really a conversation. One Piece is this huge property that spans literally thousands of chapters and hundreds of episodes, and everyone has their own understanding, interpretation, and really a story behind their personal side of the story. So with this series, we're reaching out through TikTokers, individuals on Instagram, content creators, all types of, even like new people to the genre, just to see how they understand One Piece, how they love the world, and really what their favorites are. So this is why we have a new Nakama, Looting Kyle. Hey Kyle!
Hi, how's it going?
Looting Kyle, if you could tell us a little bit about your channel and what you do there.
Absolutely. So I am Kyle, and I run a YouTube channel where it's mostly centered around giving my 100% honest thoughts and opinions on different animes, mangas, and gaming-related topics. One Piece being a big one that I have returned to a few times already, and probably will continue to return to many times in the future.
Yeah, it's so funny because you, again, I saw, I was wrong about One Piece. I do love those videos. I'm getting a lot of them popping up, so I'm reaching out to a lot of the individuals like that. Mm-hmm. But again, with the initial understanding, like, it was a little intimidating coming in and over 1,000 chapters, but the first episode, again, anime, may not be the one for everything, especially because the manga is structured differently.
Yeah.
And when you went back, did you notice that a little bit too, when you started reading versus watching?
A little bit, yeah. I am definitely someone that if I was going to recommend someone that's getting into the series for the first time, if they can do it, try to get into the manga.
Which is very fair. Again, this is back in the 90s, so who knows? Well, this is a property that has been around since 97. I found it in 2005. So One Piece has officially been in my life almost half as long as I've been alive. So next year it'll be the official, like, boom, half of your life has been One Piece type of thing. But it's cool because you have just gotten into it in the last 2 years, right? Because Totally Not Mark's series was 2 years ago or last year?
Only a year. I think I got into it around June or July of last year.
Happy anniversary! Oh my goodness.
It's been an amazing year. Despite everything else that's been going on in the world.
I think that was one of your critiques as well. But as far as your interpretation, I very much appreciated it, and I wanted to start this off, and our entire everything will come from here. When you talked about Baratie, you mentioned that the introduction of Mihawk was like dropping Perfect Cell into Dragon Ball. And I'm getting goosebumps because as someone, again, who's been watching and reading One Piece since I was 17, that interpretation, especially because I grew up with Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, and Perfect Cell still haunts my memories because of what he did to Android 18. Miss you, babe. It's just one of those things where that is a perfect analogy. So I really just wanted to get your thoughts on really, again, it's been a year for you. So that type of leap, while I necessarily couldn't make, it's very interesting to have someone new to the genre, new to the series, being like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that was the big, like, oh snap, this is happening moment for me when they introduced Mihawk right that early into the series. It's like, this is an end game figure. This is like what Zoro's end goal is going to be at the very end of the series, basically. And they're just like, oh, here he is. He's kind of mad. He's just going to start messing stuff up. And it's like, these guys can't handle this. How are they even going to get out of this situation alive? So that's when the stakes, the stakes get raised really high. You actually get an idea of what the long-term kind of view of the series is going to be at that point. Because at that point, you're like, oh, well, Luffy stepped through it, and even Buggy's like, oh, well, they got these powers, but they're kind of goofy, they're kind of silly. But then Mihawk shows up, and you're like, oh, this dude is slicing boats in half. And he's like a one-man army. It's like, okay, I want to see how our crew could possibly reach that level eventually.
Do you feel, and I didn't mention it, but Kyle is all caught up. to the everything. So for anyone watching this back, go ahead and let it rip in the comment section, because spoilers are a thing. And if it was someone who was halfway through, I wouldn't be like, tell us about Alabasta, but it's good to be able to be caught up, which again is I think you mentioned in your videos, like, I'm almost done and I don't know how I feel about this, because it's very sad, but it's still very cool.
That's the thing about being caught up, is it's like, yes, I can confidently move forward without really being spoiled, except for maybe an occasional chapter thing here or there. At the same time, though, when you had an almost infinite amount of content, you could just sit down and binge. It's just like you're in heaven. You're like, yes, I know there's just so much good stuff in front of me here. But now I don't have that. Now I just have to go back and start rewatching it, which I'm totally fine with that, because upon repeat viewings and readings, I feel like there's just so much to the series that you can interpret in different ways or uncover that, let's do it.
I wanted to save the first half because I wanted just to get your honest opinion without just understanding where you're coming from. So, hands down, gun to your head, there's one arc that you have to say for all of Prosperity. What is it going to be? What's your favorite arc? Not saga, arc.
Actual arc. Okay, yeah. So my absolute favorite arc of the series is Marineford. I don't... It's hard to describe. It's like the amount of work Oda had to put in to properly set up this war, and then bring every character introduced in the first, 500 chapters together in a way that feels natural and makes sense, needs to be applauded. Like, people like to talk about, oh man, Endgame, Marvel's Endgame is just this greatest thing ever. And I'm like, have you seen One Piece's Marineford? That is the greatest war of all time.
And I appreciate that, especially coming from a Dragon Ball fan, because it's the fighting aspect. And again, I haven't seen Super. I was told that Frieza becomes an ally, and I still emotionally don't know how to feel about that. So there's that. But with Marineford, and taking that understanding of coming from the Dragon Ball genre, it's like, all right, the character moments help the individuals, in my opinion, in Dragon Ball, and that's why Marineford has so much weight added to it. To your point, individuals who were sprinkled throughout the entirety of the story. We saw all three admirals. Did you notice that all three admirals were introduced before Marineford?
Yeah, I know. We saw Kiji and Kizaru. I don't remember where we first saw Akainu though. But
are you ready?
Where was he shown at?
Getting goosebumps already. So at Ohara, there was one ship that was set to be able to leave, and it was sank. And someone standing there said, "This is absolute justice. No one survives Ohara." Akainu is the one. Akainu is the one who killed the refugees from Ohara. And that's when we first met him. That is a hell of a way of being able to be like, because again, Aokiji literally sleeping, standing straight up. And I think you said that was one of your favorite character introductions too, right?
Yeah. It's just so out of left field. All of a sudden, we just got done with this kind of goofy pirate games arc, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, by the way, here's an admiral, and he's gonna mess up the Straw Hats. It's like, whoa, where did this come from?
I want to see a few things in my life, but Oda's workroom is one of those things that I just want to see. Because he has to be the conspiracy theorist with all the little lines everywhere. Has to be.
That was a big thing I remember when I was first getting into the series. One of the big bullet points I remember was people were like, oh yeah, he's known the ending of the series since before he's even started writing it in the very beginning. So I'm like, okay, somebody already knows where the direction of his 1,000 chapter series is going to go. I'm sure there's going to be lots of foreshadowing throughout. And absolutely, yeah, he's so good at sprinkling little tidbits of information here and there that may not pay off for 500 or 600 chapters, but when it hits dead on. Once you go through Water 7 and Amy's Lobby, you're like, I really appreciated that one goofy fight we had before we made it here. I mean, that's the thing. Oda's done a really good job of setting up reasons for multiple characters to like get the final blow on Kaido. Like, Luffy has good reason to do it. Yamato has good reasons. Zoro, all the scabbards, like they all have perfectly valid reasons for being like the one that delivers the final blow, essentially.
Mm-hmm. But speaking of scabbards, are they dead?
I am led to believe that maybe 3 of them are dead. I'm still not sure. I feel like Kiku could still be alive, but you never really know.
Yeah, someone made a really good point is when people do actually die, Oda does tend to silhouette them. Granted, that wasn't the case for Yasue, but for like Odin when he was shot through the head, things like that. Actually, no, Yasue was silhouetted. To take that back, I take that back. So the reason why I would kind of say yes, at least for Kinemon, he got. I shouldn't laugh at that.
I caught myself laughing at that unintentionally. I was like, why am I laughing now? This is a sad moment.
Well, that's the biggest, and you mentioned this too. It's like that's the biggest critique of all time for any One Piece genre. The expectation to death, unfortunately, has impacted our understanding of the story to where we don't take it seriously. I didn't take Yasue seriously until literally, who was it? Frankie was carrying his wrapped up body, and I was like, oh, I guess he is dead. You're just like, oh yeah, Yasue's gonna survive, and then afterwards, Otoko's literally just like pushing. And I was like, I mean, he might be dead. And then you see him wrapped up in a mummy. I was like, all right, I guess he's dead. But again, that point of never really killing anyone, at least whose name doesn't begin with P, kind of plays that.
Yeah, I'm sure Oda is aware of it by now. At least I hope he is, and can actually do something to like subvert expectations because of it. Because like so many of us are like, are the scabbards really dead? How crazy would it be if they literally all just died? And he's like, yeah, that's it.
I love Ino. I'm a dog person, but Neku's my dude. I'm sorry, Neku's so much better than Ino. Ino is too much of a tightwad for me. Even though he did have a point. Did you see the latest anime episode? The latest few episodes? Inu had a point. All long ago when we found out about why the kings were fighting because of Odin, I initially was just like, I'm gonna save my reservations to see what happened. Neku was wrong. Neku was wrong. I'm just gonna say that right now. And he was wrong to double down on that. Inu was right. Like, please quit antagonizing them. Please, please, please stop. And then here, everything happens from there, but it's just... in that fight, now that we finally see what happens, Inu is right, Neko is wrong. Gotta get your filler.
That's the problem with like fodder characters at this stage of the game, where it's like, yeah, if Luffy and the other Straw Hats are supposed to be like a Yonko crew, how do you just have a bunch of grunts like stand up to them? You either need to just like superpower up the grunts or find some way to make the Straw Hats weaker.
Which he does that for Luffy all the time. Let's go back to the Foxy fight. But yeah. I love what you just said there, is that and it's still so weird to say the Straw Hats are a Yonko crew.
Right.
But they are. And it's
technically they are.
It's just like, wait, when did we first meet Kinemon? 9 years ago, which is weird. Yeah. Which is very, very weird. And we'll get back to that. But the aspect of Punk Hazard, there's 10 numbers. 5 have been defeated already, but the fact that they are failed clones of ores, which is just even more cool. That there's this extra lore on a place that we've been to 10 years ago, really. It just keeps on coming and coming and coming. It's madness.
Yeah, it's actually pretty crazy how both Punk Hazard and Gorilla Bark are arcs that people don't always love, but they continue to be really relevant for a lot of the stuff that's currently going on.
I still remember the first chapter, I think it was right around Skypiea, Oda mentioned in one of the SBSs that One Piece is going international, and it's the first. And he was so excited. I wonder if people are gonna like it in the West. And here in 2021, I'm just thinking back on that. It's like, dude, people loved it. People really did love it. Like, it'll be interesting just because we have Murphy, who's like, I would consider a normie, just jumping into it. But so you have people being able to get into the genre through that, and I do appreciate that. But I'm very interested in this Netflix series. I'm not so hyped that I'm going to get crushed, because I understand I remember Ghost in a Shell. But
as long as it's not like a Dragon Ball Evolution kind of scenario, I'm sure it'll be better than that.
I erased that from my memory.
I apologize for bringing up painful memories.
Oh my goodness, that was so. What was worse, Dragon Ball Evolution or Avatar? That's a hard one.
I think I have to go with Dragon Ball being worse, because it feels more of a betrayal. It feels like a worse betrayal of the source material than Avatar was.
It had the worst writing, but overall Avatar, they couldn't even get his name right. The MCs, it would be like in Dragon Ball Evolution, they were calling him Goku, or something like that.
Gaku.
Yeah, or something like I would. Like, if you can't even get the dude's name right, that's automatic. Just boom.
We just need to delete both of them from history.
Yeah, and that's why going to this Netflix series, and Oda has given his permission. That is one of the things where I'm just like, okay, Oda knows.
Yeah, from what I understand, I think the director or creative person behind the series actually went and met Oda, and they had a nice conversation, talked about what he plans on doing with the series, and that's when Oda was like, "Oh yeah, this sounds great. Go ahead and you have my blessing for this series." So okay. I'm hopeful but the problem is there's just not been a very great streak of live action anime adaptations, so that's my concern. But I guess if anyone's gonna get it right, this may be the chance.
When they get to Chopper, no clue how that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
No clue. That would be the hardest one, bar none. Until maybe you get to Smoker and Alabasta. Favorite Marine?
Ooh. There's a couple I really like, but if I had to pick one, I'm gonna say Smoker. I find his arc is actually very enjoyable. Him going from like he's almost like a mini Eiichiro in a way. He's at the beginning he's like absolute justice. I will do my job, and then by where we're in the series now, he hasn't turned on the Marines, but he's like questioning a lot of the decisions, and in many ways he's almost more supportive of piracy in a way, because they have done more good for the world than the Marines have in certain ways.
At least one.
Yeah.
Well, Vegapunk is going to show up eventually. We know that Tashigi and Garp are heading to meet Vegapunk because of the kids. So in some way, Vegapunk could either... That would be amazing. Vegapunk could even show up in Wano or into this next saga. We have to see Vegapunk. At some point.
There's no way the series ends without us seeing or getting some information from Vegapunk.
At least. So, and again, that goes into the whole parallels to God Valley, where you had the Celestial Dragons be defended by a pirate and a Marine. Now you potentially have a Marine kind of with Drake, or at least with Smoker, who would actually be coming with Vegapunk. So there's these two Marines and yes, there's Kobe, who is...
And there's potentially more. I mean, Oda has already set up this entire faction in the Marines called the Swords that are basically opposed to what the upper levels are doing. So, I don't know, I'm just saying there's a really good chance that we may see Smoker and the rest of G5 become members of Sword at some point.
How do you introduce Sword in like 75% of your... That makes no sense. Like, how are we still being introduced and mind-blown to world-building events? And now, so in the cover series, there's one where you have Akainu and Kizaru out working, and Akainu has a little sword tattoo on his shoulder. So everyone in One Piece, as soon as Sword was announced, it's just like, who's a part of Sword?
We must go through every panel of the manga, look for little sword tattoos.
Well, again, it would not blow my mind to the battle for Punk Hazard may have been staged.
Yeah, I always thought that was weird. He basically leaves the Marines, but then he's like, I'm going to go join a pirate crew for Blackbeard. I'm just like, that doesn't seem very in character for him. He's got to be up to something.
But then you had Drake, who it didn't seem in character when he left the Marines. A lot of people said that because he was vice admiral, but he left and got his ass beaten savagely by Kizaru. Like that's what I mean by he got his butt whooped by Kizaru. So I'm guessing that was part of the charade. 2, he's not an admiral because he doesn't want to serve their source. And that's the most monkey thing I've ever heard of all. Like, that's the family right there. Do you want to be a admiral? No. Why? Does it mean I have to serve them?
Because it means I have responsibilities to people I don't like. Which is, it's a fair reason not to accept the job offer, but it's very interesting that he was so willing to go along with the Marines up until that point, and then he's like, oh, nope, this is where I draw the line. It's like, okay. But then he helps them at God Valley with the most notorious pirate of the age. It's like, there's something's not adding up there.
It's so gray, and that I very much appreciate it. And I appreciate the fact that you have Sengoku, who, on the opposite side of that, can act as an interpreter. And I also appreciate that he became a little shit. Like, after he stepped down, he just messes with Akainu so hard. He just, like, grins. Or, what was it? In Dressrosa, when Fujitora was saying goodbye to the Straw Hats, and he's like, I wish that I could have seen you. I wish you all the best. And you have Sengoku in the back just like, I heard that.
Oh, man. Yeah, Sengoku, after he stepped down and was allowed to be a bit more carefree, a bit goofier, he became so great as a character.
It feels like Otama is going to be the strongest member of the Grand Fleet now, with all the smile users. That would be amazing if 1,000 Beast Otama. What's that?
You want to know what I want to see? Big Mom defeated somehow, and then Katakuri take over the Big Mom pirates, and then have him become an ally of the Straw Hat.
I could see that. I
think there's enough setup for that to happen.
Great time to ask. Yamato or Carrot for Straw Hat?
I can see arguments for either one of them, but I'm going to put my coins on Yamato.
Ooh.
I get why people want to see Carrot because of her backstory and the way she interacts with the crew, but Yamato, I feel like the parallels there to like Odin joining Roger's crew are just too strong. Right? If Yamato is literally like Odin nowadays, it only makes sense that he would want to join Pirate King's crew.
And see the same story that Odin did.
Yeah.
Especially tying back to the backstory with Ace. Blew my mind. And now Ace has a connection with Otama and Yamato. The understanding that... Oh, man, it really did break my heart when she was telling about Odin's logbook and she was telling him about Roger, and he didn't know she was talking about Roger, and he was just like, I would love to have a drink.
Yeah, that knows how to break your heart. It's like that guy sounds really awesome. I'd love to have a drink with him. I think we'd have a good time. I'm like, you probably would, man.
You really would. This is I actually haven't never asked anyone this, so I want to get your interpretation. What was your thoughts on Roger? And did he meet your expectations? Because you were able to meet him within a year and then get to introduce with him.
So I actually really like what I did with Roger. When you're introduced to him, I think it's intentionally he's portrayed in a way where he's just like the most generic-y pirate guy that you could imagine. And then as you learn more about the world and like the way different powers work, you start to realize, wait, that guy was the pirate king? But we have people like Mihawk running around? Hold up. Wait a second. And you start to realize, oh, this dude's actually like a complete badass. And the fact that he was captured by the world government, just something doesn't sit right there. It captured. And then as eventually as Luffy explores more of the world, we start learning more about the history of the world, and eventually meet more of the different crewmates of Roger's crew. It's like, oh, okay. This guy actually, the parallels between him and Luffy are just compounding on each other, and then we eventually get Odin's flashback, and we really get to deep dive into his character a lot deeper, see him exploring the world of Odin. It's like, oh, okay, this is not where I expected his character to go, but I'm really glad this is the way it ended up playing out.
Roger is everything that I wanted when I first saw this dude when I was 17. It's one of those interesting things where you know of the individual, but you don't know them. And then 16 years later, you actually get to find out who they were as a person. The fact that he was goofy, I love the fact that he's just like, hey guys, I don't want you to get hurt. And they're just like, you just want to fight. He knocked the living snot out of Odin, who's a Chad, with a smile on his face. When he was charging and his pupils went purple, I'm just, hold on a second. Am I feeling emotions right now? Him seeing and naming Laugh-Tale, that was a moment that I didn't realize that I've wanted since I was 17. Mm-hmm. And being able to have, and that's why I wanted to ask you, because for you it's been a year, so you've really been understanding this. But on my personal journey, it's like you met someone. It's like you see The Rock on a postcard when you're 16, and then you finally get to see who The Rock is 15, 16 years later, and like you're actually, Roger's not a person, but you actually have your own personality. You actually are a human being, and it's just one of those things. You're just like, ooh, wow, it made me feel like I was 17 again, and it was one of those moments where I'll never overlook. Absolutely loved it. Yeah,
absolutely. There's always a big pressure I feel like for writers to be like, okay, we need to establish a like super powerful like catalyst for a series or something like that. And Roger isn't a typical way of going about a character like that, but I feel like just the execution is so spot on, because like he doesn't have to be super serious. Like you say, he's pretty goofy. He likes to be carefree and kind of mess around like Luffy does. Mm-hmm. And I feel like One Piece is one of the few series where you can get away with doing a character like that, and it makes sense and feels natural,
while having a good sense of humor to it. Because Vinland, I think, did you do one on Vinland Saga? Or yeah, Vinland Saga. Thorfinn can't be that goofy person. Thor's couldn't be. Thorkill could, and that's why he's best girl of all time. I love Thorkill. But it's hard to do that with a lot of mains in certain, especially in more of a fighting type genre. What do you think the One Piece is?
I am a believer that the One Piece is the unification of the world, where the Red Line gets destroyed, which allows all the seas to come together to be one sea, because that will not only fulfill what Luffy wants, which is a chance to be more free and to have like an entire world to explore on his own, but it also would simultaneously fulfill Sanji's dream of creating an ocean where all the fish of the sea can come together. Mm-hmm. So for me, it fits too well into the puzzle that is One Piece to like not be that, you know? Like well, if this is what it is, it answers so many questions. And it also fulfills that some leftover plot threads, like Madame Charlie's her vision that Luffy was going to destroy Fisherman Island. That didn't happen during the arc. But if the Red Line were to be destroyed, that would also destroy Fishman Island in theory, which would make that prophecy come true.
Exactly.
So I'm like, it just makes too much sense, but you really never know, because Oda could come up with just this galaxy brain thing where that happens, but not in the way we expect it. I don't know. You never really know.
Oh, you have no idea. And the funniest part is it'll piss Nami off to all hell, because then she'll have to redo every single map because the world will be completely changed. So as much as I would love to see Luffy looking like Rayleigh, I do think that it's going to be Zoro at some point. All gray. Who knows? I don't think he'll be the Shogun of Wano, but I think he'll be a hero of Wano. If he's not marrying Hiyori, there is a travesty going on in our midst. I don't ship...
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, Zoro has so many ties to Wano, yet despite how deep into the Wano arc we are, those haven't really come up yet.
Speaking about not forgetting things, I asked you what your favorite arc was. Favorite moment... And you can do like 2 or 3. Favorite moments in the story so far.
Okay. So my absolute favorite moment...
Oh, you know that. Okay.
I have an absolute favorite, but then I have a couple of others I really enjoy. But my favorite is in Arlon Park when Nami breaks down and has to ask Luffy for help after being very stubborn and denying and like rejecting his help for the entirety of that arc for the most part. Eventually, she just gives in. She starts crying, and then Luffy's just like, "I've been waiting for you to do that. Come on, boys, we gotta go kick some booty."
Here,
and then
hold on to the most prized thing I have.
Yep. That is my absolute favorite moment. I knew from that point on, I was hooked and would be catching up to the series, no problem. Even though I was enjoying it ever since Baratie, but that moment in particular, I was like, "Oh, this is just incredible."
The emotional aspects.
Yeah, it hits on all cylinders. It has great character work. It's very emotional. It's also a really great setup for the upcoming fight that's about to happen. Like, it has everything you want from a relatively short scene. Like, that moment to the end of the walk is like 3-4 minutes of the anime. So like, it's not a very long time, but it delivers for sure. But a couple of moments I really like also includes when the Straw Hats declared war on the world government at Enies Lobby. Like I said, that was when the series turned from kind of like a fun pirate adventure to a geopolitical series. That shift there, like, now we're like getting into the real big players of the world here. And also, any moment, any time throughout the series where a Straw Hat is asked or like questioned or try to get turned on, where like someone tries to get the Straw Hats to reject Luffy as the Pirate King.
I love this.
And they put their foot down. They're like, "No, Luffy will be the Pirate King. You cannot make me say otherwise."
Nami almost getting her head bashed in.
Nami getting her head bashed in. I think my favorite is actually Jinbei's, where he's going up against Big Mom.
Yeah,
and
good one.
And she's like, "You will come to fear me," or something like that. And Jinbei is like, "Nah. If I'm going to be a member of the Pirate King's crew, I can't be afraid of a Yonko. I can't be afraid of an Emperor. I'm leaving. See you later." Everyone's just like, he just dropped the mic and walked out of here.
Even though Chopper can fight, I take it back. Chopper can fight now. Chopper can fight. But I do think Carrot's stronger.
Chopper's been coming up really strong in the manga release recently.
Do you think he's going to get Haki, though?
I could see him getting maybe some... I don't know if he's going to get armament, but I could see him getting some kind of observation, maybe.
I'm hoping his observation is going to be linked more to his sense of smell, because he's an animal. So he can, like, figure out your ailments, because he's a doctor, through your scent. So I'm leaning more towards that. Nami, I mean, who knows if she doesn't already have Conqueror's Honky because of what she does to Luffy half the time. Like, let's be honest, she hurts rubber, so there's something there.
There's something going on there.
Hopefully hers would be observation too, just because of how she navigates the boat. Robin, I would say both.
Yeah,
Robin, I feel, is both. Who else is there? Frankie's armament, definitely not observation.
Mm-hmm.
Brooke? Both?
Yeah, Brooke is a tricky one, because, like, there are some elements of what he does that are more precise, like with the way he uses his swords, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Maybe.
I could see his spirit energy again, his soul powers being used for observation. Like he can sense people's souls around him. Like,
he has a musical ear, so maybe that would also play into observation.
He does put people to He does put people to sleep with his music too. That could pop. Maybe actually, who knows? That's something to ponder. And yeah, Jinbei has. I know we all already know he has armament, but I don't know about observation. I doubt he has conquerors. Someone said that the next conqueror might be Usopp, and I absolutely died. I love that thought. I love that theory. I love that opinion.
It would do so much for his character arc if he somehow developed conquerors. This, the scaredy cat, the East Blue, eventually rises to become a great warrior of the sea with conquerors hockey. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Especially when Soga King hears about that too. Soga King will be so proud.
Oh yeah, he and Usopp would have the best romance.
Here's a fun one. Oh, wow, we're already over an hour, so we'll probably go for another 20. Best Usopp alter ego, God Usopp or Soga King? And this includes the stories around them too.
Includes the stories around them.
Because
okay.
I'll say mine after yours.
While I love the implications of God Usopp, I find those so funny, how people call him a god. I have to go with Soga King, though. I find what Soga King does for Usopp as a character, and also the whole arc around Water 7 and Enies Lobby, for me, it takes the cake, but it is still funny, though. It's still funny how all these years later, his lies are becoming facts. Right? Like, back in the day when he said that, he went to an island, and he met a bunch of dwarves. Well, not only did that happen, but he became the god of the dwarves.
The context around God Usopp is just too magnificent. For him to be being held up by who is someone that we saw in Big Mom's flashback, Haruden, which is absolutely crazy. He was a little boy. I didn't realize that. He was, yeah. See, here I can finally throw some more context at you. So in Big Mom's flashback, when she was growing up, the little giant boy that she was playing with, that was him.
Okay. It just never ceases to amaze me how many connections there are.
It's maddening. It's absolutely maddening. But for Usopp's like, please put me down. You're hurting me. My arms are going to fall off. And they're just like, I'm God. Listen to me. Go do this. And then afterwards, when Dofi is giving the bounties, and everyone is just like, oh my goodness, there are this many stars, and you think that it's done, and he's finally like, the one who has made me the most pissed off, and Usopp's like, oh thank goodness, I got out of this alive. 500 million berries. Everyone lost it except for Luffy, who laughed his ass off.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, Choppermon. I think it's fair to pivot from that. Favorite Straw Hat.
This is not because we're just talking.
Or top three. Top three.
My actual answer is Chopper. He is my favorite of the Straw Hats. I feel like
we agree on that, actually.
I feel like he has a really great backstory that when we meet him in Drum Island. He goes through a lot of character development, learning to be a bit more confident in himself and his abilities. And let's be honest, he's just the cutest member of the entire crew. There's no argument. There's nobody on the planet that can look at Tony Chopper and not fall in love with him. That's the great thing about the Straw Hats. So there is not a single member of that crew that I don't like. And that is saying something. Like, how often do you see a big cast of like 8 or 9 people and you're like, I enjoy every single one of these members to a high degree. Like, there's not a single member I would feel okay about letting go for any reason. I'm like, no, they have to stay. Nobody can leave to go do anything else. They have to
Oh,
stay.
true. Now, granted, when they were first introduced, I mean, I wanted nothing to do with Frankie. Who's this dude? Robin absolutely terrified me. I'm sorry to everyone watching this, but when I first saw the anime, I was corrupted by that stupid Boston accent they gave Sanji. Sanji, unfortunately, is one of the reasons why Sanji will not be ever in my top 5, is because how we were initially introduced. 4Kids screwed up a lot of things, and this is why I'm more beholden to just Oda's version of the manga, because I don't want any other story but what Oda gives. And 4Kids took a lot away from me, especially my affinity for Sanji, because that first introduction, I wanted no part of him. Let's say it this way. Your favorite husbando and your favorite waifu in One Piece. Because we're equal opportunity here with the Warlords.
Husbando has to be Zoro. I don't think I could go any other way besides Zoro. He's confident in himself. He's got good looks. What more could you want? I mean, he's got a good personality too. Like, if you wanted to sit down and have a drink with him, you'd have a great time. If you just want to sit down and watch some anime with him, you'd have a great time.
He'll fall asleep, but great time.
Yeah, it's all right. No judgment from me here. Waifu though, it's gotta be Robin.
All of One Piece?
And all of One Piece has to be Robin.
Smart man.
She has like all the qualities you would want in a companion. She has great looks. She's very smart. She can hold her own in a multitude of different situations. You got me right there.
I have to add Nojiko and Reiji to my top 3, including Robin. I just now noticed the sister thing, but I mean, between Robin and then those two, it's just, you know what? Oda, you have created some amazing women, some amazing stories, and an amazing world for us to enjoy. Looting Kyle, thank you so much for being a part of Off the Scene Interviews. It's been a great project. Again, can you let everyone know where to find you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show today. If you guys want to see what I am up to, I have a YouTube channel, and you can find me at Looting Kyle. And I cover all kinds of different anime, mangas, and gaming-related topics, so I'd love to see you guys over there. Let's have a conversation. I'm always up for talking about really anything. And yeah, that's what I am up to. And thank you for having me.
Awesome. And yeah, I'll have all of his links in the description down below, so feel free to check that out. But I am the Dark Britain. Thank you for being along with this amazing journey of ours and just really having a conversation. And we'll catch you on the next one. Stay reckless, Warlords. Peace. Hey, you. Yeah, you. The amazing Nakama that made it to the end of our content. Hi. I'm the Dark Britain with the Runaway Warlords, and I'd like to personally say thank you for being able to check out our video. If you like what we have, go ahead and subscribe. That'll really be able to help you out. If you want to check out another video, we have one right here. And also, we have a lovely playlist for you to check out right there. I'm the Dark Britain of the Runaway Warlords. Thank you so much for being with us on this journey. We'll catch you next time. Peace.